some of the recruits, some of them who have not committed to schools, some who are committed to Florida State. And I want to know from you what your chances are of Florida State either keeping them or landing them in some way.
Okay.
All right.
Yep.
So obviously the 2 5-stars that Florida State has right now, Travis Hunter,
Yep.
originally from Palm Beach County, now in high school in Georgia. Sam McCall from up in Lakeland, Lake Gibson High School. Georgia's been going hard after Travis Hunter. Georgia's been making a hard push towards Travis Hunter. A couple schools have gone after McCall. I think Hunter is a solid Florida State commit. Is it 100%? Do you think Georgia may come in and make a last-minute push, or what are your thoughts on both those guys?
I think Travis Hunter is 10-10 lock for Florida State. I think Georgia was trying their hardest. I think Florida State is in a great spot with Trav. He really likes Norvell. Him and Norvell and Woodson are definitely 2 coaches that I think Travis Hunter is in love with. His biggest thing is wanting to play for Florida State. That is his dream since day one. I'm sure Georgia tried to throw a couple bags at him. You know, he was going to visit too some of these games because I think just likes football, and also there's some FSU targets too that were visiting some of these games. So maybe to get into the ear of those was kind of just doing some networking there and maybe trying to help out the Florida State staff. But I was never really too worried about that. I think Travis Hunter, from things that we got to hear internally, he was always going to be a lock. The biggest thing that I was worried about was his injury that he had earlier in his high school season, this past season, that they're still going for state. And look at him. He's scoring interceptions, whatever the hell, how many passing yards he's getting, also throwing touchdowns. He's playing right now for a state title, which is awesome to see. He's just a competitor like that. Freak athlete. So Travis Hunter, lock. And I think Sam McCall tweeted yesterday that he's signing. Everything's locked down. It's going to be Florida State. So you're going to be able to have 2 5-stars coming in. 2 guys, extremely talented. 2 guys that can play offense. And I think Sam McCall can do offense, defense. He's just a special athlete too. So those are 2 big time gets at Mike Norvell. And definitely Adam Fuller are getting on defense. Travis can play wide receiver. And I'm sure he'll play. We'll get to see him play wide receiver. We most definitely will in Tallahassee a few times. But as a DB, that's where his main strength is. But, I mean, he got to show us, too, this last year. He can play wide receiver, and he can be the top wide receiver in the class, too. It's freaky. He's just a freak athlete. I mean, just kind of put him wherever you want. It just depends on how good his endurance is.
Now, down my way, 2 guys from my area that we talked about earlier in the show, 2 legacy commitments, Marvin Jones Jr. from American Heritage in Plantation, Julian Armella from St. Thomas Aquinas, who St. Thomas will be playing for a championship down here 2 days after signing day. Both of them have Florida State in their final group. I think Florida State only lands one of them. I think Armella comes to Florida State. I think there was a chance Armella would have gone to LSU had Ed Orgeron stayed on as head coach over there, but I think Florida State made a last-minute push. I think he goes to Florida State. I think Florida State is still in it for Marvin Jones Jr. I just have a feeling like he is going to end up at Alabama. I think it's going to come down to Alabama and Florida State, and I think Alabama is going to edge you out. Trust me, I would love nothing more, because I will be there at his commitment. I'm shooting that one. I would love nothing more than for him to put on the garnet and gold hat, but I just have a strange feeling like it's going to be Alabama. What do you think, Logan?
Yeah, I think, Florida State did about as good as they could this season. They could have, I don't think that there's some things they could have fixed, but getting that Miami win saved a lot of things, in my opinion. And also you're seeing Oklahoma and that whole Lincoln Riley thing going on. I know this past couple days ago, he went to go visit USC with Lincoln Riley. And Alabama is Alabama. Nick Saban, they'll be doing an in-home visit this week along with Mike Norvell. That's going to be interesting to see how that goes and who's going to win out of that. But, I think his family would love for him to go to Florida State, but, he's going to ball wherever he wants to go. And I think the thing is, he's visited Florida State out of almost every school that he's gone to in the past year. I mean, he was there at 12 o'clock at Midnight Madness to be a part of also Julian Armella that was there. I mean, Florida State did the best that they could with both of these guys, and being able to have Marvin Jones Jr. over here in Tallahassee, I don't know, 3+ times, 4 times. In the last year. I mean, it's definitely impressive, and Florida State has done everything imaginable as they can. And we'll see. I think that's just going to come down to like the last 48, 24 hours. We'll probably get a good feeling on where he's going to be going. And if it happens to be Florida State, that would be big time, the biggest win for Mike Norvell. Which is crazy to think. You already got Travis Hunter. But Marvin Jones Jr. he's just been that guy. Since you've already got Travis Hunter and kind of locked that down, the biggest focus has been towards Marvin Jones Jr. And not only just because of legacy, extremely talented, but much needed. You're losing Keir Thomas, Jermaine Johnson.
What about Armella?
Armella, I think Florida State is in a really good spot after about last week. I think things really switched to where Florida State. I think really when Alabama wasn't pursuing him as much and they felt pretty comfortable with what they already had, wasn't going to make room for Armella. I think Florida State got put into a really good spot, and I think he ends up at Florida State, which that is also a big-time grab there for a really talented offensive lineman. 5-star, 4-star, whatever you want to put him. That's going to be a guy that is going to be a contributor really early on at Florida State, and big win for Coach Atkins. I think with LSU, that whole thing going on with Coach O, and also losing, I believe, their offensive line coach, if I'm correct, and then the whole Florida thing going on. Dan Mullen no longer being there, offensive line coach changing. It just kind of turned perfectly to where Florida State could take advantage of it. It really was going to be, I think, LSU and FSU at the end. And with Coach O and that whole situation going down, it gave Florida State a lot of leadway to get inside and work with Armella. So we'll see. It's going to be a fascinating day. I'm going to be texting you, Jason, and tell me what hats are on the table. We got to see what brand. Where are they at? Left, right? Is it in the middle?
I will definitely. We will let you know. We will keep you updated on that one. Trey West, lineman from Georgia.
Tyree, commit. Yeah.
Tyree West, I apologize. Yeah. Tyree West from lineman Georgia commit.
Yeah.
There's another one. Smoke about Florida State maybe possibly getting him. Can Florida State steal one from Georgia? Or do you think he's committed to Georgia permanently?
So I was at practice the day that he came and visited. He got to visit the whole practice. He was there with Ryan Bartow. And Kenyatta Watson, your two Florida, recruiting guys, gurus, high school relations guys. So got to see Tyree West, and I mean, 90% of the whole time he was smiling, enjoying the music during the practices, going and dapping up a lot of the players, getting hugs. I think Adam Fuller almost picked him up whenever he saw him at the beginning of practice, and then he went over and spent a lot of time with Odell Higgins. Norvell spent a lot of time with them, and then also brought him over to Jermaine Johnson a few times for a little easy recruiting advertising there. But I think Florida State is going to make a flip here on Tyree West, 5-star defensive lineman, which would be an immediate impact to Florida State. He'd be playing in that first game against LSU next season.
Duquesne is our first game.
I keep on thinking that it's the season opener.
Duquesne is our first game, folks. LSU hopefully will be 1-0.
That's the lamest thing ever.
Hopefully we'll actually beat our FCS team this year, so hopefully we can go along those lines.
Maybe that's the biggest thing. You needed to always flip-flop it.
Absolutely, 100%. All right, let's go through real quick. Last three guys. You mentioned his name, Kevin Coleman, 5-star wide receiver from East St. Louis. Is Florida State going to go into the Lou and be proud?
Oh, man, I don't know. This one's interesting. I still have felt for a long while Nate and Dustin are the guys for this. Really Nate, because he's had a good scoop on his recruitment since the beginning. Oregon with Cristobal leaving there. Now is Miami in the mix? I'm not too entirely sure, but Florida State has been the lean for Kevin Coleman. I do know that since the spring game. I've known that. And a really good lean. There's been a lot of Oregon love. Now Mario Cristobal goes to Miami. Does he seem like maybe he wanted to go far away from home? I don't know. I still think Florida State is really in the mix here. Got to see Norvell and Dugans just go visit him earlier today. I think if I were to put my money on it right now, I'd say Florida State right now, just because I think it was more of a bigger threat of Mario Cristobal if he would have been staying at Miami than anything. But
the 247 crystal ball is 5 for 5 FSU.
So far, I'm liking his odds so far. All right, last two guys we got.
Yeah.
two 4-star wide receivers, Santana, Fleming from down my way in South Florida, then
Yeah.
Adam Hopkins. 2 wide receivers, 2 4-stars. Can Florida State land both of them? And I feel like it's important that Florida State gets at least one of them if Kevin Coleman doesn't come.
I think for Fleming, I think it's a Florida State lean here. I think it's been that way for a good long while. I think a really good long while. I think Florida State has a really good chance of landing him. That's a really talented wide receiver who can go one-on-one with guys and kind of stretch the field. So I think Florida State lean there. And then a new one here with Hopkins. I mean, this is more of a younger guy, 2023. But I think he's got a good relationship there with Dugans along with Marcus Woodson. It does help too. He's kind of local there, up there in Georgia, just right outside of Tallahassee and Thomasville. So Florida State, in the future there, I think Florida State has a good chance of getting one of the top 20, top 15 wide receivers in the 2023 class. But there's a lot of things. I mean, I don't think this thing is anywhere close to being done. This will be one of the most entertaining early. This is really now, I feel like, the National Signing Day, because early signing day takes over now from National Signing Day because guys want to get in and be done with it and also get in early enroll. But not to mention early enroll, there are so many early enrollees that Florida State is going to have compared to last year. It is going to be a big time factor for Florida State heading into next season because some of these guys are going to be immediate impacts. And we'll keep an eye on Destin Hill, the unicorn, the literal unicorn that – we don't know if he's real. They are still expecting him to be on campus next month.
So he's
I'll
alive.
tell you what. He's alive. He's alive. We'll see, though. It seems like everybody's trying to fight for a source there. But, man, once a picture goes out of him being on campus, you might as well just won the ACC, won a national championship because, man, people are really excited about having him on the field because that wide receiver room, if you're able to grab some of these cats at wide receiver.
How about we start by being bowl eligible first? Okay.
You gotta have these guys to be bowl eligible.
Bowl eligibility first, guys. That's where we're gonna start with.
Well, you can't be happy about Destin Hill.
I'm happy about Destin Hill, but you're already claiming we're gonna be ACC champs.
No. I was saying that would be the same. It would feel the same if you had won an ACC championship if Destin Hill is on campus in the Moore. I feel like a lot of Florida State fans would be going crazy. Same with Marvin Jones Jr. I think there would be cars in downtown honking their horns if Marvin Jones Jr. decides to pick Florida State over Nick Saban. Imagine that. Nick Saban gets stuffed in a locker from Norvell. What would you say, Jason?
What's that?
What would you say if Norvell did that to Nick Saban? You would have to say...
If Norvell stuffed Saban in a locker?
Yeah, that's a term for if he beats him in the recruitment of landing.
I know what the term is, buddy. Don't get me wrong. I think I would say this before we go. I think Marvin Jones could still choose Florida State. I just think right now, if you're saying, gun to my head, who is he going to go with? I think Alabama is slightly. I think it's 60-40 Alabama right now. Can Florida State still turn in a week? Yeah, I think it's enough of that tie with his dad. I think is enough to. If Norvell can make a good push, I could see him coming to Florida State.